All right, let me read the tweet of Israel Akinlawon. Israel Akinlawon sends his tweeting on a regular basis. He says to succeed, the approach for our new coach, Gennaro, is simple. Do not use the players out of position. He says Mikel at Chelsea is a case study. So what exactly is he saying? Use him the way he's used at Chelsea, or use him the way Chelsea successfully used him at the Olympics?
Players have always had issues playing in one position, like Wale was playing one position at their clubs and coming to play
in different positions at the national team.
You know,
but Mikel has shown that they can switch.
And that's why you have to give credit to him. It's flexibility.
They can switch quite easily.
Why I also think he should play that advanced role, it doesn't mean he has to play 90 minutes all the time. Why I think he can play that advanced role, my own observation, he easily gets caught in possession. And when he plays up there, he has more time to think. And when the ball gets to him, he does what he wants to do. Unlike when he's in front of the back four, any slight mistake, we're under pressure. When he gets caught in possession, and of course,
so we should play him further up the field.
My biggest worry is that I see him in Chelsea go for the tackles, drag his opponents down. In the Super Eagles, I don't see.
I just think
he has to drag his opponents down because he's playing in front of the back four. But in the Super Eagles, if you play him further up, there is no need for him to be dragging other people down at the upper end of the pitch. But then he still needs that urgency, that change of pace, sharpness. Everything is still in there. But as you said, to give Mikel the credit that he deserves, he switches quite easily from when he's at Chelsea to when he's at the national team. And the Olympics have shown that he still has those traits of being a very fantastic creative force.
Yeah, and there's no player in the Super Eagles in recent history that's divided opinion on where is his best position. Like John Mikel Obi. And he does well at it. Wherever you want him to play, he's always committed into it. But the most important thing is that we've just proved that every Nigerian is a coach, because we just fashioned out tactical outlines in here. The job still lies with Janet Raw.
What he wants.
Is it 4-4-2? Is it 4-3-3? Is it 4-2-3-1? It depends on him, and Tanzania is the perfect example.
If he's the average German, like I think he is, he's going to go for players that are physical, players that have height, players.
See, Germany has undergone a surgery in football, but where it doesn't rely on all of that again. Germany football,
that's why I said
is more expressive.
The average German.
Yeah, they like tall guys. They can't do without tall guys.
Yeah, they like it big, but
but they may have one or two players who are average height and all of that. But their football is so re-engineered.
A lot of
that everybody.
If you remember the Germany-Brazil game, the commentator was talking about the fact that the coach Rubesch, who has built the side since on the 20 level, likes big players. He likes his centre forward big, strong. So that explains the fact that Germans still like their big players. They like them strong, but they are also becoming expressive with their football, and I would love to see that with the Super Eagles.
All right, let's talk about Kelechi Iheanacho very quickly. This is good news for us, because about this time yesterday on the show, Kelechi was stretchered out of Manchester City's game against Steaua Bucharest. But the good news is that Kelechi only strained a muscle, as they told us, and is okay. That withdrawal was precautionary. So Kelechi is fit, Kelechi is good, Kelechi will be available for us. So more options for us going forward against Tanzania.
This is another player that will give the coach a headache.
Good headache.
Where would I use him? Where will I get?
Push him to the wings, or push him.
Where will I get the best from him? And another thing we've not talked about is player combination. I remember Arsene Wenger taught us a lesson 16 years ago. Told us that you can't have Nwankwo Kanu and Dennis Beckham
on the same pitch
at the same time. They're not going to get you goals. So that as well is another thing that
I don't know if anybody agrees with me, but I still feel that Kelechi still hasn't. There's still this level. I want him to be the Super Eagles.
The closest to what we've seen of Kelechi playing at that high level was the friendly game against Mali and Luxembourg.
We need to see that
full of running.
Level.
I mean, he had a free role. He was full of running. He was committing the tackles. He was pressuring the defense of the opponents, and he was able to get goals as well.
I knew when the young man went to Manchester City that we're going to have this problem. Most of us see him in the glass that under 17 tournament has built, and we still think that he can do that at senior level. He plays as a striker in Manchester City, and whether or not is he going to be able to take the ball from centre half to the opponent's backline remains to be seen.
And also there's no culture shock, because when you go from being coached by Pep Guardiola to Gennaro Raw, there's a whole lot of changes that will happen. But General is an experienced manager. He's an experienced manager, and it's a golden age for Nigerian football offensively. We have some interesting talent.
But that's an aspect of the international game that you come up with, that you come up against all the time.
Yeah.
Play for your club differently, and come to the national team and play a different role. It happens all the time. So international players also know that once I'm flying down from London and I'm crossing those seas, coming to Nigeria, coming to Africa, I need to change my thinking. It was late coach Stephen Keshi that told those boys one of the training sessions that, look, guys, as you are flying down, be adjusting to African football in your minds. That close marking, running. You're
not going to get protection from the referee.
No referees protecting you. So change your thinking, and I think that's about what these guys need to do. Tanzania have named a very strong squad, by the way. They've also called up a number of their top guys.
Yes.
In fact, that this is a dead rubber, so that's good for us.
Yeah.
It's going to be a good test.
A strong test.
The two teams will have to play for pride, and I think it can help us get the kind of desire from the boys that we need.
That's what we're looking for. I hope there won't be injuries. That's another angle of the equation. I hope all the guys invited, none is injured, that the coach can set his team to play the way he wants them to play, that he can pick a few lessons before we go to Zambia, that he can get the key factors right, the combinations, getting the best, from not necessarily pleasing us, but getting us the results that we need. It's hard enough that we have the kind of countries that we have in our group, and we have to start well. That's important. And starting well means, dispatching Tanzania and playing well, giving the fans something to cheer about. We've not had reasons to smile when it comes to Super Eagles in recent times.
Okay, Folani Oloyede at Fola09 says what matters most is where Mikel plays regularly, not his natural position. That's his own thoughts, that we should play him where he plays regularly, not his natural position. And I don't know whether you agree with him, but let's hear your thoughts. Godswill Ononiwu says Mikel is good in attacking midfield role. I mean, it gave us that taste of what we've been longing for a long while at the Olympic Games. It was just in the middle of everything good going forward.
And he had some field marshals
who were working really hard
for him.
All right, so that's it. And I'm happy because Genedro said he spent a lot of time to watch the games as well. So he was watching the Olympic team and he was seeing everything. I'm sure he was seeing everything that we are also talking about right now.
Yes.
And he's the man being paid for the job, and I'm sure let him feel the headache, the good headache.
That's why why he'll be earning that
amount of money that he will be earning as a Super Eagles coach. Guys, let's switch very quickly and come back to African football. We've been talking about switching to African football all the while. Let's bring you this one. Zesco United against Wydad Athletic Club of Casablanca. And Wydad, as a Nigerian, Chisom Chikatara making his debut. And what a debut he had. Enjoy the highlights. We'll be right back with more on Sports Tonight.
Each other before we get started with proceedings this afternoon. Corner quickly taken. Chance now. And it's a goal! Odiambo puts in Zesco United in the lead here. And my word, what a good start. Just love him on our stadium. Erupts in celebration. The picture tells the story. Akit cannot believe what has hit him. As the fans are chanting United, and suddenly putting a smile is Odiambo that goal. The Kenyan international is putting Zesco United in the lead here at the Levi Monasa Stadium in Ndola.
Fadi and company flat-footed. They allow Odiambo to run through that defense, cut through like a hot knife through butter. Truth be told, if he didn't get to that ball, Idris Mbombo would have. The defenders were just watching, and I don't understand why they stood in that fashion and they're talking to each other. You've got 3 to 4 players just marooning themselves, but in terms of cover and how there's a combination of cover, I think Wydad are doing way better than Zesco. Zesco, it's always 1v1, it's never 1v2.
They shoot from afar and it's in. Chikatara now scores for Wydad Casablanca. And just when you're talking about what Zesco needed to do, Chikatara gets the equalizer here. Jacob Banda is beaten. And you can see celebration with this result at this stage. It means that Wydad again will top the group. So Chisom Elvis Chikatara, the Nigerian, equalizes for Wydad Casablanca.
Well, he scored there from about 28 yards out, and he noticed that Jacob Banda was not in the right position, and the ball was always killing. Wrapped his foot around the ball, and it was always turning. I think Jacob had no answer to that. His positioning was wrong. And the reason he did that is that he noticed there were two players that were near Chikatara. The Nigerian picks his spot.
Wow, what a goal from Chisom Chikatara. Our own Chisom Chikatara, who just a few years ago was a Kolanut boy, selling around the stadium in Umuahia. Now is, exporting his trade to the big leagues, scoring goals in the CAF Champions League, and I'm sure this is just the stepping stone. Chisom is destined for bigger things in football. We wish him the best. We hope he stays out of injuries, and we hope to see more of him in the crucial stages of the CAF Champions League. Guys, before we go on a break, for Nigeria, the CAF Champions League is a forgettable experience. Warri Wolves, going out very early. In fact, a lot of people do not even know that Warri Wolves competed in the CAF Champions League this season. But for Enyimba, for the first time in a long while, they got to the group phase, and guess what? They ended bottom of their group, winning only their last game, which was also a dead rubber. Despite our job being made by Tonsotif being disqualified, we still made them a mess of it. And honestly, I think this year has shown us and has emphasized that African football has moved on from those years when we won in 2002 and 2003. It has moved on. See, football in Africa has gone beyond the game on the pitch. Off the pitch, how well are we doing? How well are we preparing for our games? Have we done well in terms of the quality of players we have representing us on the continent? That's a question we need to ask ourselves, because honestly, this is hurting us. I know that there are coefficients also that will be counting, and they'll be putting into effect how well Nigeria has been performing in the CAF Champions League. The fact that Enyimba go to the group phase could help us. Yeah, at least for a year or two. For the first time in 5 years, that could probably help us a little bit. But Yemi, the story of our clubs is one that should worry us. Warri Wolves were almost winning the league last season, got to the CAF Champions League. This season, they are bottom of almost fighting against the drop. The players are complaining about lack of motivation. Yeah. And they're having a lot of problems off the pitch. Yeah, once you take your eyes off the objectives, I've told you before, there are a lot of things you can get away with while you're playing in Nigeria, but on the continent, like Wale pointed out, is unforgiving. You don't start well, and that's just it. For Warri Wolves, it was over before it started. And I'm hoping that for the clubs that we make it to the CAF Champions League next season, it won't be so. It takes us back to the problems that we have here. Welfare is key. You don't expect an hungry player to give you the goods. It's not going to. If you don't expect a coach that is not stable on his job to give, all of these issues need to be sorted out. Tiny details win you a football match. We saw Jose Mourinho explaining to us the other day why he took out one matter. A lot of us were thinking, does that kind of detail matter? But details matter. He said, I took him out because of his height. And details matter. So a quick one, organization. You look at the teams the last four, they are properly organized. Yeah. And there's also a trend setting right now. The West African teams are getting left out. The South African teams have taken over. Zesco United, the Mamelodi Sundowns, even the North African teams have to be careful. Arakli used to be where they are right now. Where they are playing in the CAF Confederations Cup. I know they even struggle to make it into the group stages. So there's a lot changing, and I hope that we can learn our lessons quickly and return to where we used to be. All right, so that's the message. That's what we need to do very quickly. Of course, Warri Wolves, we hope that better times will return for the club. Let me read a few comments on Twitter before we go on our next break. Tokpe Ashaolu says, German coaches like to build their team from the midfield. He says that they just concluded Euros. The Germans went to the tournament with 9 midfielders, all right? So some of those midfielders are pseudo-attackers, really. So it all depends on what the coach wants to achieve. Those guys can freely transit from midfield to attack, and they're so fluid about how they do it there, all right? So let's go on a quick break now. When we return from this break, we'll be spending time to talk about the UEFA Champions League. The draws were made today, and then, of course, UEFA also named their best player for the just concluded season. We'll talk about all of that and more after this timeout.